sorority. There's two, actually.
There's just one.
No, that's a Y.
No in the middle.
That's an O.
Sorority.
Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is my spoiler-free review for Neighbors 2 Sorority. Sorority. So how do you say that word? Sorority Rising. Neighbors 2 Neighbors 2. I really don't know the best way to start this review. I mean, the movie was pretty generic. You know, it was the same plot as the first one, but if you've seen the trailers, you know it's the same plot as the first one, just instead of a fraternity, it's a sorority. Hey, I said it right! You know, that's pretty much the only difference. Otherwise, it's the exact same plot reused in this. In that sense, to me, it was kind of a generic thing, but I'm trying not to use that term generic as, oh, that's a negative. I mean, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't, because I was still really entertained throughout this movie. Like, there were some really great laugh out loud moments where I was really laughing, and so there was a lot of fun aspects to this movie. But if you saw the first one, you kind of have seen this one. And what was kind of interesting was, you know, a lot of sequels of this type just recycle the jokes from the first one, trying to, you know, you loved it in that one, here's a little nostalgia, and here's that joke again in this one. This movie didn't do that as much. It did do it, especially the airbag thing, which, you know, we see that in the trailers. But I felt like the few places where they did reuse the jokes, they did it right. They reused them in the right way, and I thought it was pretty funny. Seth Rogen, as always, I thought he did a great job in this movie. You know, obviously it's kind of centered around him and his wife, and now their little girl's like, what, a toddler, 3 or 4 years old or something like that. And they got another baby on the way, so they're trying to sell their house, and it's going to be an escrow for 30 days, and that's when this sorority moves in. But this sorority has the goal of throwing parties because, you know, I should have Googled this, but in this movie, they said sororities can't throw parties, but only fraternities can throw parties. I don't know why. I have a hard time believing that's true in this modern 21st century world. But that was the plot of this movie, and that's kind of really what they battled against. And it was kind of funny because they had one scene where they all got on their phones and Googled that and went, "Ah!" Was that a spoiler? I like Zac Efron. He did a really great job in this one again. It was kind of interesting to watch him because what I liked about his character that made him a tad bit more relatable, now, honestly, because it's the kind of comedy that it is, there's parts of the character that are over-exaggerated and stuff like that. But the part of it that made it so relatable was that he's just this guy going through a quarter-life crisis. He's watching all of his other brothers from the fraternity in the first movie. They're growing up. They're doing successful things, but he has a criminal record because of what happened in the first movie, so he has a really hard time getting jobs. So everybody else is succeeding, everybody else is doing well, and he is kind of in the same place, you know, working in retail and things like that. You know, he has a boss that's younger than him and had to call off work to go to the prom. So you can kind of just see where this guy is starting to have a little bit of a crisis. You know, he's just like, oh my gosh, I'm the oldest guy at where I work, and my boss had to go to the prom. So, like, I thought that was kind of a cool, interesting aspect of his character. It kind of added this other layer of dimension. It added this other layer of conflict. And so, you know, when he wants to work with Seth Rogen, you're like, okay, I get it. I can follow this guy. I can see where he's at. When it comes to the sorority part of it, like, Fifth Wave Girl was pretty good in this movie. I mean, she was believable. I think there might have been a few places where she's a little bit over dramatic, but when you watch the Fifth Wave, I mean, she's very, I will lead! And then in this one, she's, you know, a sorority girl trying to do her own sorority because she wants to party in college. So I thought watching her as an actress play those two very different roles, I thought that was kind of cool to see that. But, you know, I like acting and I do a lot of acting, so I kind of like to see how people in their range and how they could do those different roles. And I thought she was believable. I thought she did a fine job. But other than that, I don't think I have anything else to really say or add to this review. I could go deeper into the plot, I could go deeper into the characters, but honestly, it's like Neighbors 1. If you enjoyed the first one and you thought it was really funny, then I think you would really enjoy this one. I thought the first one was okay, and I thought this one was okay. If you saw the first one and you absolutely hated it, then I would bet you would absolutely hate this one. So I guess that's the only way, the best way I know to rate it. In the end, I think I'm going to give this movie 2.5 out of 5 stars because I did find it very enjoyable. Like, while I was sitting there in the theater, I laughed. It was funny in parts, but it was generic. It was the first one repeated a little bit, so I don't need to see it again. I haven't needed to watch the first one again, so I really don't have the desire to see this again either. And And that's kind of where we stand on it. If you saw it, how many stars would you give this movie? Make sure to let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for checking out Durbania. I'm Durbin.